In this demonstration you will learn how to set up dependency injection. Let's switch to Visual Studio. Here I've opened the code behind file of the application object. In the previous clip, you created here this code that calls the constructor of the main window with a main view model dependency. Now, every time you need to use a new type, you need to adjust this code here. Instead of calling all these constructors manually, let's use dependency injection. Let's go to the Solution Explorer and let's right-click Dependencies in our project. Let's select here Manage NuGet Packages. I select here Browse, and now I search here for Microsoft.extensions.dependency injection, and I hit Enter. Here you can see the Microsoft Extensions Dependency Injection NuGet package. Let's select this one, and let's click here on Install to install the latest stable version. I click OK in this dialog to install that NuGet package. Now let's close this tab again and let's go back to the code behind file of our application object. Here in the app class, I create a constructor. Now I use the service collection class that comes from the NuGet package. So let's press Ctrl- to add a using directive for the namespace Microsoft Extensions Dependency Injection. I call this variable here services and I initialize it with a new service collection instance. Next, let's call here a configure services method and let's pass in the service collection. I press Ctrl- to generate this method in our app class. So here in this method, you need to register all the dependencies that you need to create down here the main window. So on the service collection, let's call the addTransient method and let's say that we need a main window. The main window requires a main view model as a dependency. So let's call the addTransient method again for the main view model. Now we have also this one. The main view model requires a customer's view model and a product's view model as a dependency. So I just copy this line here and I also register the customer's view model and also the product's view model. Finally, you can see that the customer's view model requires a customer data provider. When you hover the constructor, you can see it actually requires an iCustomer data provider. The customer data provider class is an implementation of that interface. So let's also register that one here by calling the addTransient method. And let's say for the interface iCustomer data provider, you want to register the customer data provider class. Now the dependency injection framework knows when this interface is needed, it passes in an instance of the customer data provider. Exactly what we do down here manually right now. This means now the service collection has all the services that are needed to instantiate here the main window. The next thing is a service provider that provides all these registered services to you. So let's scroll up again to the constructor of the app class where we have created the service collection. Now in this constructor, let's initialize an underscore service provider field. And on the service collection, you can call a build service provider method. Let's press Ctrl- to generate the service provider field. And you can see it is of type service provider. You can make this field here a read-only field as it is initialized in the constructor. Now you can use that service provider to create the main window with all its dependencies. So here, instead of calling the main window constructor with all the dependencies, you can use now the service provider and you can call the generic getService method and you say, I want to have a main window instance. When you hover this method, you can see that the returned main window could be null. So let's add down here where the main window is used a question mark to check if it is not null. Now let's run the application and let's see if this works. Yes, as you can see, the main window comes up and everything works as before. But now you don't have to worry about all the constructor parameters to create a main window instance. You have registered all the dependencies here in this configure services method, and they are injected automatically into the constructors. In the next clip, you will register and use another type with dependency injection.